Hear me, saints of God. We need to see Jesus today. Just like the 7 churches needed to hear in John's day. It is the Son of Man who walks among the lampstands. We must renew this eternal focus and assurances again and again and again and again. We must encourage ourselves to get up in the morning and look into the mirror. I know my hair's going to be messed up and the bags under my eyes are only getting bigger and they're only getting darker. But I don't see the bald head when I look in the mirror anymore. I don't see the bags of 43 years of life anymore. I don't see the wrinkles and the crow's streaks that are starting to get on the corners of my eyes. No, sir. When I wake up in the morning, the person I want to see when I look at the mirror is Jesus Christ. I want to know, are we going to do something today? Where are we going to go today? What are we going to affect today? Because God, you are the immovable object. God, you are the life changer. God, you are the hope giver. You are the way maker. And I am going to be that person through you. Yeah. Because I saw Him when I woke up. The next thing we see John viewing is in verse 13. Was that this Son of Man was clothed in a robe, reaching to the feet, and girded across, watch this, His breast with a golden girdle. If anybody understands girding, you will understand that you don't gird across your chest. You gird across your waist. But He was girded across His chest, His breast, with a golden girdle. The word translated robe reaching to His feet is not used anywhere else in the New Testament, but in the Old Testament it always refers to the robe of the high priest. So you need to understand this vision that he's writing is like no other vision, because this robe that he saw and this girding that he witnessed was like no other girding or robe. You see, the gold band across his chest reveals 2 things to us. The fact that it is high, not around the waist, but around the chest. He wanted you and I to understand that this was a high priest that we were talking to. And the fact that it is gold shows that the priesthood, that this individual that was standing in the midst of the church that looked like the Son of Man had a very, very high calling or a great stature, because this robe, this girding was of gold. Verse 5 says, Christ released us from our sins. How? By His blood. This priest is so great that He gave His own blood once and for all to the end of the ages to put away sin once and for all for everybody by the sacrifice of Himself. He wanted us to know that there would be no other high priest like this high priest. Nobody had ever seen it, and nobody will ever see it again. This man was like no other man, and he's still in the midst of his church. Standing among the lampstands. Standing amongst you and I. I could go on about John's vision. I could talk about his head and his hair being white like wool and snow, symbolizing the age of wisdom and dignity that goes with it. Or his eyes like the flame of fire, showing his energy and his expectancy of his people. There are the bronze feet and a voice like the sound of many waters, and a face shining like the sun in its full strength, a glory, a glow like they saw when Moses came and he beheld the Son of God or the child and man of God. I want to tell somebody that's the only thing that I can refer to in the Old Testament right now that lets me to have a glimpse of the type of God that Moses had seen and became. They said that when he came down, that his face shone round about, that they could not look upon him. Why? Because he had been transformed by the Spirit of God. What do you mean, preacher? I'm telling somebody this morning, Moses saw God. He might not have saw him face to face, but what he saw was more than enough. All you and I need is a little glimpse of Jesus this morning, that we might know there's a transformation taking place. Something's going on in my life. I don't look the same. I don't look the same in the morning anymore. Yes. Amen. You want to know why churches struggle? Because I've seen you all year long. That's why I asked you this morning, did you see Him? Did you see Jesus this year? You look on 2008, I want to ask you, as I asked you at the onset, did you see Him? Did you gaze upon Jesus now that you know what happens when you do? If you did, I praise you. Did you see in His eyes the flashing fire of His inexhaustible energy, of His hope when He thinks about His plans for you in 2009? Did you see that in His eyes? The hope that He has for America and for this world in this coming year. Because if you see Him, you would see that in Him. You wouldn't walk in here depressed if you saw Him this morning in the mirror. You would know that everything's going to be all right. You would know that my God, that looks I'm looking at in that mirror, You'll never leave me. You'll never forsake me. I don't understand. I don't see the bruise around my eye that the devil gave me last night. I don't see the lumps on the forehead that he gave me from last week. All I see is You. I don't see the beat down spirit that the world has put upon me this year, Lord. All I see is You. I know that I can get up and glorify You this morning because I see You. And in seeing You, I know what makes You tick. I know what You like. I know what You love. Because I saw You. You saw Him, you would know that He is not hesitant. He is not wearied. He is not bored. You would know that His eyes are a flame of fire, and they flicker with utter exhilaration and passion and relish for the work He intends to do in you. You wouldn't look at 2009 with conservatorship or with fear and anxiety. You would look at it welcoming 2009, knowing that He is exhilarated in what He's going to do in me this year. He's going to put the pieces of my life together this year. The pieces of my life that have not been or that have been displaced, that I feel might be a little discombobulated. Anybody know what I'm talking about right now? I want you to know, when you see Him, you'll know 2009 is going to be the best year of my life. And if it's not, it's because I'm going to be more like Jesus. I might end up on campus, but I want somebody to know it won't stop me from talking about Jesus. It won't stop me from seeking Jesus, pursuing Him, looking for Him, loving Him. So I ask you again as I prepare to close. Did you see Him? Did you see Him? You see, we need to gaze upon Him this morning. The Word says He is among the lampstands.